Hello, friends. It's nice to see everyone this evening. You're looking lovely. I see your smiling faces. Tonight, I'd like to welcome you to Indigo Sangha, and we'll be talking about a better way to live alone, which seems appropriate for these times. And we'll begin the evening with our sitting meditation. We'll enjoy a little bit of mindful movement that I'll be leading, and then have a second sit. And just a reminder that we are recording this session, and I will go ahead and turn off that recording when we get to our personal sharing, so that we can have that in confidence. I see some new faces tonight for our gathering, and I'd like to welcome newcomers. We will also this evening have a chance to stick around for up to maybe 30 minutes afterwards, just to say hello, introduce ourselves, get caught up. Many of us are missing our after Sangha time, when we enjoyed a lot of conversation together as friends. So we will be able to open that up a little bit this evening. So for our sitting meditation, what I'd like to invite you to do is feel your seat on your chair and feel your feet on the floor. And notice how that gives you a very stable platform connecting with the earth. You may want to rock back and forth a little bit, side to side, just finding that balance point where you can stack your vertebrae right on top of each other. And we do this not to be rigid, but just to let the structure of our body rest in a way that doesn't demand a lot of movement from us as we sit. You want maybe to drop your chin a little bit and raise the crown of your head. Go ahead and either have your eyes mostly closed and a soft focus in front of you if you're feeling a little sleepy, or if you're feeling good, go ahead and close your eyes and put a smile on your lips. And what we're going to do is just feel the sensation of your breath in your body. Notice your in-breath. And notice your out-breath. If your mind is very busy, go ahead and bring your awareness to the sensation of your breathing in your belly, the way it expands and contracts, in and out. Or if you're feeling sleepy, you might just want to have the sensation of your breathing on the tip of your nose. Notice what that feels like. Notice if your breaths are long or short. You don't want to control your breathing. Just notice how the body manages breathing all on its own. Your mind may wander. You might be asking yourself, is this it? Am I doing it right? You may be thinking about something earlier in the day. And just notice that your thoughts have wandered from the sensation of your breathing. And just bring them back to using the breath as your anchor of your awareness, in and out. Just enjoy that sensation of breathing. The peace of knowing you have nowhere you have to go, nothing you have to do. And as your mind wanders, just keep coming back to that sensation, the curiosity about your breath in your body. I'll invite 3 sounds of the bell, and we'll go ahead and enjoy a period of sitting meditation together. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness, I send my heart along with the sound of the bell. May the hearers awaken from forgetfulness and transcend all anxiety and sorrow. Listen, listen, the sound of the bell brings me back to my true home. Present moment, wonderful moment. Present moment, only moment. And friends, when we bow, the symbol is we take our mind and body in front of our heart and we form like a lotus bud. And we bow to honor the possibility of enlightenment that exists in each of us. So that's what we're doing. Now I'd like to lead us in some mindful movements. And to do this, I'm going to turn my camera around. I'm going to try to do it in such a way that does not make anyone dizzy. And as I do this, perhaps what you'd like to do is just stand in front of your chair, and I'll catch up with you on the other side in just one moment. Thank you. To begin with our in-breath, we'll just raise our hands and then come down with our out-breath. And let's take our hands all the way up. Now let's put our hands on our shoulders and we'll bloom like a lotus flower. Now put your hands on your stomach, bend your knees a little bit, and just feel your breathing. For the next movement, we're going to do big arm circles. And reverse direction. Now bring your hands to your hips. And we're going to do circles with your hips. Breathing in and breathing out. And reverse direction. In and out. All right, stand. Put your hands back on your tummy and feel your breathing. All right. Now we're going to go down and touch the ground, and then all the way up and touch the sky, and timed with our breathing. Out. In. Into center. And this time we're going to work on a little balance. We're going to lift one leg up, kick it out gently, back in and down. In. Last one. Great. Come back to center. And for this last exercise, we're going to turn into a lunge and reach up and down. Lunge, up and down. In and out. Last one. Come back to center. And let's come back to our seats. We'll go ahead and enjoy a second shorter sit. So find your sitting posture. Bring your awareness to the sensation of your breathing, your body relaxed. And just enjoy your sitting. I'd like us to read together the Elder Discourse, which will be the foundation of our study for this evening. I heard these words of the Buddha one time when the Lord was staying at the monastery in the Jeta Grove in the town of Shravasti. At that time, there was a monk named Tara, elder, who always preferred to be alone. Whenever he could, he praised the practice of living alone. He sought alms alone and sat in meditation alone. One time, a group of bhikshus came to the Lord, paid their respect by prostrating at his feet, stepped to one side, sat down at a distance, and said, "Blessed One, there is an elder by the name of Tara who only wants to be alone. He always praises the practice of living alone. He goes into the village alone to seek alms, returns home
from the village alone.
Returns home from the village alone and sits in meditation alone. The Lord Buddha told one of the bhikshus, 'Please go to the place where the monk Tara lives and tell him I wish to see him.' The bhikshu obeyed. When the monk Tara heard the Buddha's wish, he came without delay, prostrated at the feet of the Buddha, stepped to one side and sat down at a distance. Then the Blessed One asked the monk, 'Tara, is it true that you prefer to be alone, praise the life of solitude, go for alms alone, come back from the village alone, and sit in meditation alone?' The monk Tara replied, 'It is true, Blessed One.' Buddha asked the monk Tara, 'How do you live alone?' The monk Tara replied, 'I live alone, no one else lives with me. I praise the practice of being alone. I go for alms alone. And I come back from the village alone. I sit in meditation alone. That is all.' The Buddha taught the monk as follows. It is obvious that you like the practice of living alone. I do not want to deny that, but I want to tell you that there is a more wonderful and profound way to be alone. It is the way of deep observation in order to see that the past no longer exists and the future has not yet come, and to dwell at ease in the present moment, free from desire. When a person lives in this way, he has no hesitation in his heart. He gives up all anxiety and regrets, lets go of all binding desires, and cuts the fetters which prevent him from being free. This is called the better way to live alone. There is no more wonderful way of being alone than this." Then the Blessed One recited this gatha. "Observing life deeply, it is possible to clearly see all that is, not enslaved by anything. It is possible to put aside all craving, resulting in a life of peace and joy. This is truly to live alone." Hearing the Lord's words, the monk Tara was delighted. He prostrated respectfully to the Buddha and departed. So this is the better way to live alone. And it is an important teaching that actually what has been handed down through the generations is that the Buddha actually taught this a number of times. And his practitioners that studied with him also taught this a number of times. So you'll see this teaching in a number of different Pali canons. And Thich Nhat Hanh describes this better way of living alone as the essence of living an awakened life. So it struck me that this might be a good time to talk about this practice given the coronavirus and the fact that many of us are in separation from people we love, from our usual way of going about in society. Many of us are feeling that aloneness rather acutely, and that we may be feeling, I think as a society, we're seeing evidence of some grief with that. I know that there are many doctors who are worried about people feeling lonely and suffering from loneliness in their aloneness. There's also quite a bit of restlessness that we're seeing, a real pressure being put upon the societies and our structures to open back up and get back with the program. So it's interesting that I myself find that the coronavirus and this period of aloneness, it's very much kind of waking me up to things I took for granted. So I took for granted the wonderful opportunities to go to lunch with a friend. I took for granted chances to visit with extended family, and going on road trips, and going to the movies or to a concert. I know there's a lot of kids in our neighborhood that took for granted the great opportunity to go to school and be with their friends. And I know that I and others I've talked to have really taken for granted the opportunity to get a haircut. So when I think about that, I think about the teaching of the non-toothache, that we can have an ordinary day where we don't have a toothache and we think, well, that's nothing special. You know, it's just kind of a neutral feeling for us. Okay, there's no toothache. But part of that art of living, that art of happiness, is to take what's neutral and move it over into how precious and wonderful that is. Well, right now, all these things that I thought were just ordinary and expected are all feeling a little precious. And now that I have the equivalent of a toothache, it's like, oh, I didn't realize how happy I was. You know, that's kind of the thing with a non-toothache, is you don't realize how happy you are in the moment. So this is all part of the waking up that we're experiencing with the coronavirus. But when we think about this monk, Para, well, he liked his solitude. He really preferred his solitude. But what I appreciate about this particular teaching is that the Buddha responded in a way that was like, well, it's irrelevant if you like or dislike your solitude. Let me just reframe it for you completely, because it's not about your solitude. Let me steer you instead to what really is a better way to live alone. And so this to me feels like an invitation to redefine what we're experiencing right now, that sometimes I myself feel caught in either liking or disliking, you know, what's happening around me. But the invitation is to become mindful of what that mental formation is that I'm focusing on, the thing that I'm either liking or disliking. So if I'm really wishing that I, you know, like that lunch with a friend, well, great. And I can come back to the present moment and look at the opportunity of now to connect with a friend. Or if I'm defining my solitude as something about the future that I'm missing, you know, if I'm afraid of what might be, or what might come that I'm feeling some aversion towards. I might be sick, or my finances might indeed be a mess for a long time. Those are all additional mental formations. They're just something we're creating in our mind about the future. So we're creating things about the past or the future, and we can actually let them go and just come back to the present. How can I take care of myself right now in this moment the best? What can I do to take care of my family right now and those that I love right now in this moment as best as I can? And this letting go of past worries and and future concerns and all of that. That's really showing up to the present moment. Thich Nhat Hanh calls that our appointment with life. And I love this quote. He says, our appointment with life is in the present moment. The place of our appointment is right here, in this very place. So here we are. We all had an appointment to be here. We're all sitting in our own homes, in these chairs, with these computer devices, dialed into this Zoom platform, and we are all in the solitude of our own spaces, and yet we are together. We are realizing our appointment in this present moment with our life. I found out a few days ago that a friend of mine passed away a week ago today. And it was not from the coronavirus. He was somebody I cared about very much in Milwaukee, and he was exactly my age, born the same month that I was. And the friend who told me that this fellow had passed said, go onto Facebook, because his daughter is posting about how to give to a NoFundMe campaign for the funeral expenses and posting about what's happening with the family. So I did, and I did contribute to his sunset, as it was so beautifully phrased. And I started to look through his Facebook, which was something I hadn't done before. I'm not a big Facebook person. And I realized that my friend wasn't a big Facebook person either, because really his last post was February 2019. And it was a video. And I watched the video. It was about 4 minutes long. And he was at a friend's urban farm that was just north of Milwaukee. And he was excited. He wanted people to see what was growing on the farm. And so the video was actually not of him. It was his voice and of what he was seeing. And he was narrating this experience. And he was showing how there were veterans that were working on the farm that were going through organic therapy. And his dog was following behind, and it was not a very attractive pug dog. It was one of those dogs you instantly fall in love with because he was just so wonderful, and somebody needed to love that dog. And it was following behind him, and he said, come on, let's go down to the lake. And the video walks down to the lake, and my friend, the whole time he was holding it like this, and all of a sudden he held it like that, so then you have to watch the video like this. You know, it was very rough, very authentic. And he walks out on the pier, and he's showing the lake, and you're watching it like this. And he said, this is what it's all about. I'm telling you, this is life. This is the real thing here. And I was so touched that he had that moment that he shared where he showed up with his appointment to life. And that in that moment, there was no worries about the past, no projections about the future. It was just capturing the miracle and the beauty of that moment and how it touched his heart. So I was really happy that that was what he shared on his Facebook page. This particular discourse was taught so often that the Buddha put it into a short poem. I can read you that poem here. He wrote, do not pursue the past. Do not lose yourself in the future. The past no longer is. The future has not yet come. Looking deeply at life as it is in the very here and now, the practitioner dwells in the stability and freedom of the moment. We must be diligent today. To wait until tomorrow is too late. Death comes unexpectedly. How can we bargain with it? The sage calls a person who knows how to dwell in mindfulness night and day, one who knows the better way to live alone. So what we're shedding is the past and the future. Not in a way that's pushing it away, but in a way that's really embracing what is here now, because this moment contains the past. We are the accumulation of our ancestors. We are the accumulation of so much knowledge and experience. We are the accumulation of a whole lot of love that has brought us to this moment. And this moment is also the future. If we take very good care of this moment, we're taking care of the future. Because the future is made completely of non-future elements. It is only made up of the moments here in the present. So it's very clear that this better way to live alone is not about rejecting society. And instead, it means that we're to live deeply and to observe what is happening, to pay attention and not be dragged into the present or swept into the future. And it's interesting because if we can't live in the present moment, then we're never alone. No matter where we are, we could be in Antarctica, away from all humans and life forms, and we're still not alone if we don't know how to be in the present moment. We're haunted. We're captured. And on the flip side, we can be fully in the present moment, and we can be alone in a crowd of people, because we're alive to what is happening in a way that transcends the busyness, that takes it in from a place of stillness and stability, and that we're not getting yoinked out of this stability. So we can very much discover how to be alone when we're in community. And it is a practice. In the commentary on this, Thich Nhat Hanh observes that this monk, Tara, was in Sangha, and it was like the Sangha was a bowl of water, but the monk was a drop of oil. It was just separated, not being with the Sangha. And so it's possible to hold yourself back in a Sangha, but it's also possible to lose yourself in a community. So part of this being alone is not to remove yourself, and it's also not to lose yourself in community. And we can lose ourselves when we get to chatting and we're forgetting about the present moment, and we're swept away into frittering away the beauty and the wisdom of the present moment. So it's about a middle way, right? Not separating and not getting lost. And we can be alone, we can be in the present moment, we can be aware of what is happening. And it doesn't need to even require conversation, because it's about touching the essence. So we can be in communion, yes, with each other, in a Sangha or in a family or in a group of coworkers. We can be in communion. We can be in communion with the blue sky. We can be in communion with the beautiful marshes in our low country, with the pine trees. So being alone is about being connected and in communion, and that doesn't necessarily need words. So here we are, we're in solitude of our homes, and we're together in community at the same time. And as a community, we quietly commune as we practice. We give each other the solidity and the inspiration. We keep our appointment with life together by showing up and supporting one another. And this is a way of being present and being able to heal ourselves, to take care of misunderstandings, and to get nourishment by showing up to the present moment. And what I find absolutely true right now at this time of the coronavirus is that I can really be in communion, if you will, with society, even though I'm at a distance from it. And there are things that I'm witnessing in this aloneness and paying attention to this moment, like the compassion that's being demonstrated right now by all sorts of people. And by witnessing the fear that's happening in our society, the fear that people have over their financial resources, the fear that people have about election results or implications, the fear people have about ill health. I can also witness generosity and a kind of selflessness of the way that people are taking care of each other and reaching out. We're doing that in our own community here through our second body practice. That's just one small example. But I can also witness, by showing up to this moment and paying attention, all of the craving that's happening right now in the world. The way that people are craving security. And at the same time, they're craving their own freedoms back. And what's happening is there's like all of this noise out there that people are impatient, and the response is chaotic because people haven't settled into their own wisdom and their own inner knowing that it takes, that you receive when you have the practice of being alone with your own insights. I had a day recently where I was feeling not myself. I was feeling quite hollow and joyless, kind of off, agitated. And I did try to connect with other people, and it wasn't working out so well. You know, it wasn't going away. And what I needed to do, and what we need to do as practitioners, is just come back to ourselves. And so eventually during the day, I had that opportunity to just come back to myself and take a deep look at what was going on. And when I was able to do that, I saw that there was like this thorn that got stuck in my consciousness, and it was creating pain. And as soon as I saw it, I was able to pluck the thorn. And I knew immediately what to do. I could pluck the thorn out, but I had to hold on to it because I couldn't take the action right away. But just knowing that what action I could do, because it was obvious once I realized that the thorn was there, I could hold on to that and say, I'm going to get to you. And with that, I was able to have a lot of peace. So there are ways that this aloneness can create big insights, societal insights, and then also the very personal kinds of ways that we can take care of ourselves, to know where that thorn is that's stuck in our consciousness. So I'll close by saying that our friends can be very helpful to us in the practice of being alone. That sounds funny, I know. But this way of training ourselves to be fully aware in the present moment and not caught by the past or not swept into the future. If we're having a problem that we're not able to quite see in our consciousness what's going on, we can have a companion help us look deeply into what the situation is. We can also, as a community together of practitioners, we can model for each other what the practice of being noble in our aloneness, in our presence, what that looks like. And we can also share with one another insight and inspiration about this practice. I'm reminded of a great example of when this happened. About more than a year ago, I had the opportunity to go to Honduras with my husband. And I thought of this story now because we're all wearing masks these days. And there's a lot of impatience in society with wearing a mask, that people in the airline industry said, well, we can't possibly expect people to wear a mask for 3 hours on an airplane. And yet people in the medical profession, like my husband, thought nothing of wearing a mask for 10 hours. And when I went down to Honduras on a medical mission with he and the team, I noticed that my own mask made my nose itch. And so I was always wanting to itch my nose with the mask on. And if you're a medical professional, you know you don't touch your face when a mask is on. And so I was moving through the week in Honduras, going in and out of sterile situations. And I was surprised by the number of times I was stopped and people would say, don't move, tie your gown, or don't move, you have sterile gloves, don't touch, or you're not sterile, don't touch. You know, they were constantly waking me up to the fact that I was moving in and out of sterile situations. And at first I thought, oh, I'm really embarrassed, I'm doing it all wrong. And then I thought, oh, aren't they pushy? And then I thought to myself, no, actually, these are elders who have experience, who know more about moving in and out of sterile conditions, not only that I do, but that they know that I don't know about moving in and out of sterile conditions, so they're helping me. They're anticipating my own unknowingness. And I think that that's very much what we do in a community together as spiritual practitioners. You know, we are helping guide one another to have each of us stay in the present moment. Let go of the things that don't matter, because the past is no longer and the future is yet to be. And right here, as we sit here, this is our appointment with life. So thank you very much for being here this evening. I'm going to go ahead and turn off our recording and invite the opportunity for sharing. If you'd like to share, just go ahead and bow in and say your name. You might say, this is Heather bowing in. You can share what's in your heart for as long as you need, and then be sure and bow out so we all know that you're complete. And as you're sharing, do know that the rest of the community is going to be listening with open hearts and minds, and not thinking about what we're going to say. That we're going to truly be present with one another and present with our appointment together. Thank you.